What's up, nerds? Thanks for sticking around, everybody. What's this for? What should I do with this? Anybody? What should I do with it? Get rid of it? Jacob, I'll answer all the questions from behind this screen.
Come out and have a different outfit on.
That's right. Change my outfit and come out. I'll do a magic trick. I'll make one of you disappear behind that thing. Thanks for coming, you guys. We're a tiny movie, and so every single ticket sold, it helps us just keep it out here long. It's been here for a couple of weeks, and today it's going out to about 300 screens across the country in places that don't get smaller movies as often, and so any sort of word of mouth is really valuable because we don't have the budget to advertise on television really or anything. So we're depending on people who like it to tell their friends about it or tweet about it or whatever. So just the fact that you're here means a lot. So thank you very much for coming. I guess we can just I can just see if you guys have any questions. I mean, we made the movie about a year ago. We made it in 11 days with a small amount of money, just like a couple blocks from our house. My wife and I produced it, and it was really fun. It was really hard because that's really fast to make a whole movie, but it ended up being a great way to make something like this, to make it fast and kind of lean. We had 15 people on the crew, obviously about 4 people in the cast, so it was a small operation. We shot only at night, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. every night, so it was a really quick, really fun experience. But if you guys have any questions for me, I would love to try and answer them. Does anyone have any questions?
How much ad-libbing was there?
How much ad-libbing was there?
Yeah.
There was, we did improvise quite a bit. There wasn't really any need for it because it was a great script, but I enjoy ad-libbing. I think it's a healthy thing just on set to have it happening. It keeps everybody active and contributing. And sometimes you're shooting a scene for a couple of hours and things can get kind of stale. So it's great to just improvise and then decide later if you want to use any of it. You can just use some or zero. There are some scenes in the movie without any improvisation and some where there's a good amount. So the one thing that comes to mind with improvisation that's like a good example of how great Jason Schwartzman is with improvisation is we were shooting that scene at the end where we're kind of lying on the bed and I say something about the beach, like Leonardo DiCaprio and the beach, and not thinking this was something that would be in the movie, like this was some great improvisation, but just kind of getting it out. And he came back at me with something about tying it back into the movie and his character and his stupid water filter company. And he just came up with it right then and there, and then Patrick puts it in a movie. So you never know what's gonna work. So yeah, it's a fun thing to do, but certainly not essential with this because the script was really strong. Yes.
How did the cast come about? How did Taylor, Jason, and
Yeah, how did the cast come together? My wife and I got the script from ArcLight, and Judith was already attached to it because Patrick had written it. He and Mark had the idea that Patrick went and wrote it, and after he wrote it, Mark was like, oh wow, I know a sexy French mom who would be perfect for this. And so she was already kind of on board when we got it, and that was 2 years ago. And then Naomi thought of Taylor, and we immediately thought, well, that's perfect. And then when she says no, we will find someone very much like Taylor Schilling. But she said yes right away, which was kind of miraculous. And then Jason came on board like right before we started shooting. He and I had been kind of looking for something to do together. Didn't really know each other that well, but I just think he's so great, and so we're really lucky to have him. And it all just sort of fell into place quickly. I think that the fact that we shot it fast made it easy to kind of commit to it, because it doesn't take up months of your life. It's just a couple weeks. Anybody else? Yes?
So what drew you to this project initially?
Well, what drew me to the project, when Mark sent Naomi and I the script, it kind of checked all the boxes for us. We had done this, a small show for Adult Swim, but we're looking for like a movie to do for this company we had just formed. And, the material was really good, it was really funny, we connected to it as like parents, but also it was really small and contained, and we could shoot it quickly and cheaply. So the material thematically really resonated with us, but also just kind of the physical production that we would need to throw together for it really fit our needs. And Mark, kind of by design, Mark Duplass really kind of has these projects built from the ground up in order to shoot quickly and cheaply, and it's a really smart thing to do, because then you make your movie for a small amount of money, and if you're able to get it out there and make money with it, the profits are much higher, and it makes these companies much happier and more apt to buy these small movies, which is kind of what you want when you make one. Yes?
I heard Jason Schwartzman on Dan Savage's podcast talk about this movie like a week or two ago, and he was raving about sort of the degree to which this is smart sex in a comedy. So how much were you sort of consciously going for that, I guess, as far as
going for smart a smart sex comedy, I guess?
Sort of better than it usually is on screen, if that makes sense.
Sex?
Yeah.
Better than, you mean?
It's in rom-coms a lot, there's, I don't know, just the way that it usually is portrayed is not as, I don't know, like real life or
Right. So yeah, I think you're right. I mean, I think sex as it is and how people's real relationship with it, it's pretty rare to see it really reflect, especially in comedies. It's usually kind of dour material that kind of goes at sex in a kind of weird, dysfunctional direction. But in a comedy, I thought it was a great delivery system, it being so funny, to talk about these kind of icky, interesting things. Yeah.
Do you know what the writers were, what inspired the story for the movie?
Yeah, what inspired the story? I think Patrick and Mark had sat down and thought, what about an orgy with a couples trying out an orgy as an end point? And then Patrick went away, and bless you, Patrick went away and just used that as where we end up, and kind of went from there. I don't know why that's where they wanted to go. That's their business. But yeah, I think that's where the story came from. Yeah.
You mentioned that you had a very low marketing budget for this movie, and I personally heard about the movie through your AMA on Reddit. So what other approaches did you use to get the word out there about your movie, and what has proven the most successful kind of around the country?
Yeah, the Orchard, who is releasing the movie, I think they did a big spend online, like banner ads and stuff like that. That's pretty effective. A lot of stuff online, frankly, is they have this other company that they sort of paired with to get the word out there online through Twitter and social media, of course, all that. We all, the cast, those of us who do tweeted about it. Jason and Taylor and I have gone on talk shows and stuff. I mean, just fairly traditional ways. And word of mouth has been a huge thing. Of course, if you get to go to Sundance or South by Southwest and Tribeca and all these film festivals, that's all, and LA Film Festival, that's all great because that's just more publicity and it's free publicity, you know. So yeah, you kind of do all you can to try and get the word out there. I'm doing a contest with Omaze, which is a charitable organization. They're not a charitable organization, but they arrange contests and stuff with charitable organizations to raise money for charity. So I'm doing this thing to raise money for the MS Society, where the winner of the contest will have me for an overnight at their house, like a slumber party with their friends. It was my idea, and I have no idea why this was something I thought I should do. But yeah, so that's, you know, just sort of looking for any way possible to get the word out without, you know, the benefit of billboards and TV ads and all that. Yeah. Yes?
The climax of the film, no pun intended.
Yeah.
It's a risky plot point. Was there any point that you were sort of nervous about how it would read on screen?
The ending with us trying to have an orgy, or
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
How do you sort of judge like what you thought would work and what you didn't?
Well, you're right. I mean, it could fall really flat or just not work. The tone of the movie had to be such that was believable, that we would all do it. I think that was what I was worried about, was why would we do it? And when I read the script initially, my big problem was, why did we stay? Because I would just leave. When I read the script, that's what I thought. I would hang out for a couple hours and then just be like, no, we're good, we're fine, and just go. Because I thought Kurt was kind of creepy when I read it. But then with Jason playing the role, it just solved that problem, because he's a really charming, lack of a better term, seductive guy. If he wants to, he can just talk you into anything. He's just like a really genuine, charming person. So that solved that problem, but in a similar way, I thought a potential problem would be, why do they, after all this like weird shit and the problems between Taylor and I, why would we then like end up almost having an orgy? And I think the key to that was Jason and Judith's little speech to us about why they're doing this and all of that, which again is a big turn and a big risk if it's not pulled off tone-wise. But their performance in that scene was just right. The tone of the whole movie leading up to it, Patrick really got that right. So I think that by the time we actually get together and engage in the almost orgy, we're not, you got to be real careful, because there were cuts where it felt like it was pushing a little bit. You know, you just have to just twiddle with the editing until it feels right. Yeah.
With a movie that's like doesn't have a lot of money and is more independent, how do you measure like the success of it? Is it like the reviews, or if it does blow up, or how do you measure this as a successful movie?
How do you measure the success of a tiny movie?
Yeah, I guess.
You know, I'm not an expert on that stuff, just because, you know, with a movie like this, they're measuring, it's all per screen averages, that's all it is. So like tonight we sold, 20% of this particular showing of the movie, it looks like, approximately. Who knows what it was last night, but then you take the week or the weekend, you take the weekend and you just average it out, and then you get the per screen average. The first weekend we came out, we were on 3 screens, and our per screen average was number 3 in the country, only behind Jurassic Park and Inside Out. So there were some screenings that had 20%, some less, but then there's those screenings that were packed, and then you average it out, and we were like doing great. And then the second weekend was really good too, just kind of averages. So that's sort of the barometer you're using, is the per screen average. And they measure all the like mentions on Twitter and all of that. It's like a science. It's really crazy. I had no idea. Just learned about it in the last few weeks. It's really interesting or boring, depending on your capability to take in information like that. But yeah, that's sort of how they. But you know, with a movie that's at a budget like ours, it's all kind of gravy, just because we didn't know if we would ever end up in theaters. It was important to us because the crowd experience, crowd reaction at Sundance was such that we thought this should at least be given a chance in theaters because the crowds were having such a good time. Anybody else? Yes?
What were some of the more memorable moments of the filmmaking process for you, of this process?
Well, there were a lot of memorable moments, I guess. It was really fun. It was just all such a blur because we did it so quickly, but there's a scene I mean, of course, the like dance at the pool was insane, and you know, we were nervous about, Jason and I were nervous about it, but then we had like prosthetics on, so by the time the scene was actually shot, we like were way more comfortable than we thought we were going to be, because it's not real. So it's just like wearing a really interesting pair of shorts. And we felt like this is fine, and we were comfortable. Everyone else was uncomfortable because it looked like two naked dudes, but technically we weren't naked, so we were far more comfortable than we thought we were going to be. The scene by the pool after that scene, where Taylor and I are sort of talking about whether we should leave or not, and there's suddenly this sort of, that's where our characters really kind of end up going off in different directions. That was really fun to shoot because we just sat down to do it with a couple cameras and just started doing it, and really discovered this like deep betrayal as we're shooting the scene. She's so good and so fun to work with in that way, that you're shooting something and you're constantly surprised just by subtle things. And I felt like I had really stepped over a line with her, which was interesting. It's not what I anticipated for that scene. So it was kind of an exciting moment.
Yes.
So you talked about how you guys shot it really fast and it was a blur. There's a lot of ad-libbing. How does this compare to shooting your other projects that you've done? Like, did it feel like a TV schedule sort of thing, or you've been in other movies, so?
Yeah, how does it compare with other stuff I've done? Yeah, it did feel like a TV schedule. I mean, Parks and Rec, we would shoot in episode 5 days. Party Down, we would shoot in 4. So I'm used to working quickly. I really like it. When it's appropriate, like, big giant movies that take months, it's for a reason. It's because they're huge, complicated things. This is something that if you had $100 million to make this movie, I don't think it would look or feel any different. You would, like, if you made, it would be ridiculous. Like, why would you want to, So I think the schedule was appropriate for this movie. And yeah, I like working that way. I mean, on bigger things, you'd take a scene like us at the pool, and you would shoot all the pool stuff. You would take, 7 days and shoot all that stuff, because there was a lot to shoot there, and we did it, I think, in one night. And, so yeah, it was different, but it's kind of a thrill to shoot quickly like that.
So if you had to have like an overnight situation with any couple, maybe they're not.
If I had to pick a couple for overnight, that's a good question. Wow, I haven't been asked that question. That was not a compliment, make no mistake. John and Yoko. It would have to be John. I don't know if I would want to have sex with them, but I would certainly love them to hit on me. Nah, I'd probably do it. Who are we kidding? Yes.
Are you gonna do any future projects with Amy Poehler?
Any future projects with Amy Poehler? God, I hope not. I don't know. I mean, we just finished the show, and you know, she's the best, and so I mean, I would always jump at the chance to work with her. She's the best. Anybody else? Yes.
What made you want to start your own production company and get into producing?
Because I love being stressed out. We just, we wanted to just start, you know, you get an urge to make stuff, and we did just to test it out, we made this Funny or Die short that I directed and my wife produced, and Mark Duplass actually acted in it. And we didn't know how we would work together, and it ended up being really great. And you know, all the annoying things about being married actually come in really handy on set, because like, she knows me so well, she can just anticipate what's annoying me or what I need, and vice versa. And she can like tell me like, we do not have time for, you know. And so all that stuff really ended up working well. It wasn't a, you know, it could have been a disaster, but it was great. And so then we did this Adult Swim show, and then we just wanted to make a movie. And so I guess we just wanted to make stuff, you know. After acting for years and years, it's great, but you have a lot of time to kick around when you're on set, like to go to your trailer and watch Netflix or read or whatever. But when you're actively producing or directing or anything like that, you don't have a second all day, and your brain is always focusing on something, and I really love that. I love hitting the pillow at night and being exhausted for, you know, really fulfilling reasons. So no, we love it. We're glad we started it. It's fun.
Just curious, are you getting like a stronger reaction to a lot of material, you know, when it plays here locally versus other places in the country where they just, you know, they think we all live like that?
With this movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's weird. It seems like the crowd that comes to see this movie is similar. Like I was just in Chicago. I went to San Diego. I went to Toronto and did screenings, and the reaction's been very similar everywhere, and the crowds have been similar as well. But the thing that's really struck me is much older audience members, and I'm talking like older than the average sort of moviegoer, which would be 25 to 40. And if we're talking older than that, and you know, there was a woman in her mid-70s who loved the movie and loved kind of talking about how she hasn't seen something like this since like the late 60s, early 70s, and how it really kind of connected with her in that way. And it's really struck a chord with people who are on the older end of things as well. And not many movies are really marketed to that demographic, and I don't know if ours is, but it seems to connect with them. But geographically, I've noticed the crowds being kind of similar, which is interesting. Anyone else? Yes?
Can we take a picture with you?
Yeah, if anyone wants a picture, I'm like Santa Claus at the mall, and afterwards we can do it right outside in the hallway here. That's fun, right? Yeah. Okay. Is that it? Yes, sir.
Wait, one more.
Sure.
I was wondering if you could expand upon, you said that Mark Duplass kind of had the whole thing set up, ready to go. If you could expand upon that and what they're shooting.
Yeah. He had.
They just did they teamed up with Orchard, and they had so many things in production. So once you started rolling.
Yeah, had everything set up and ready to go. I don't know what I meant by that, but Mark brought us the script in the first place, put us together with Patrick, and then got the money together to make the movie, and then just kind of left us alone, which is great. He just kind of trusts people creatively. And then when the movie's done and we're at Sundance, Mark is a ninja when it comes to negotiating and kind of figuring things out with people who are interested in the movie. And he's incredibly helpful, and then creatively helpful along, when we're making the movie. So he happened to be busy with Togetherness when we were shooting the movie, so he couldn't come by every day or anything, but creatively is incredibly helpful as well. Those guys were just, while we were shooting this movie, just so occupied with their show. But yeah, he's, those guys are amazing. And I always watch anything they're involved with. That's for sure. Does that answer what you were asking? Okay, cool. Okay, so let's, thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it. Please tell if you did like it, please tell your friends, and thank you very much.